Good evening, folks. Welcome to the EMO Committee of September the 26th. We're running a little bit late. It is 10 after 6 this evening, so I'm going to call this meeting to order. We have our special guest, Dan DeCleve from MB-EMO, that will be doing a presentation with us here shortly. I just wanted to, I sent out the EMO Committee notes from last month, and then we were lucky enough on September the 16th to have our Hurricane Lee come through. It was busy. We sent out a lot of alerts. Did everybody receive all of our alerts?
I just got one.
You only got the one? I wonder why.
I was getting them for
No,
most
it
of
went
the day,
to-
and then I got a contact method removal, and I was removed from the list, but I did get a, so I got it. I'll share it with you later, but
That's
it was
interesting.
Share it
weird,
with me
'cause
later.
I was getting them, and then it just kind of stopped, and I thought there's more, like when I looked at your notes and
Yeah.
stuff, there were more alerts.
Yeah,
coming
we
up.
sent a
I thought
lot.
there
But I had to log on and do something, and I don't have an account on
I have an account.
blowing
but I
it
just-
because I was just transferred over from the previous system, so I
Yeah.
tried to
Yeah.
log on, but I couldn't.
Okay, so what I think you have to do is you're gonna have to go back onto that initial, like when we set the void thing out,
Yeah,
you're gonna have to log in, you have to make a user.
okay,
Because even though your information was transferred,
yeah,
you still had to go on and do that part. And you gotta pick your,
yeah.
because did everybody else do that?
Yeah.
I got the alerts, I know that.
I
Yeah.
even get them
No,
all
I didn't do
along.
that, my phone never stopped.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
So maybe it just depends, but I know that what they said originally was you had to go on. Your stuff would be transferred automatically, you had to go on, you had to register you as a user, and then you would there'd be no issue. But that is something I'll bring up with them. I can
Yeah.
contact them and find out exactly why you would have been booted off. That seems
Yeah.
weird.
I
Yeah,
just
I'm
found
not
that
good at
strange after getting them for so long.
Yeah, we did have a couple of comments where people didn't want that many. But on the whole, I think that with all the road closures and everything else, it was necessary to do them. And we actually, when we did have the Sentinel, our alerts were about 658. So we sent out the notices to the schools for them to take them the first week or whatever, and every alert there was 1,852.
Whoa!
So it has really increased. So
Perfect.
we'll do
That's
another.
fantastic.
We'll just keep putting out advertisements and stuff, and getting our Hamwell Herald is going out. We've got a
It's
thing
in
in there,
Yeah.
so people will, and possibly now that we've had the hurricane, and there was a lot of flooding and stuff in Hanwell and power outages and stuff, maybe that will make people more aware that they should have some contact.
The only thing I was waiting for was for the aftermath of having these all fixed, like, you know, like road will remain closed till when? Like, is it open now?
Yeah.
You know?
The,
No, what I'm saying.
yes,
like,
that
and
very true.
Water over road, I was waiting for
Yeah.
water
Right.
cleared, road open.
Yeah,
Like the
Okay, yes, and
remedying
I-
of them all, because quite a few people in Mactaquac that knew me called me, even though they're not in the like Island View area, and didn't know which way of the river to come across to get to Fredericton. So I was telling them north, keep going north, keep going north.
I actually had a resident contact me, and she was very upset, not at us, but DTI
Yeah.
or whatever, that there was not enough road signage saying
say.
that the roads were closed. They
Yeah.
weren't aware, so that is something that we can. Did you find that, like with
No, well, I
your
know,
area? 'Cause-
well, I had to go around because my commute doubled because I work in Prince William, but there was only, I don't know at the other end, but there was one right by the school, just up from
okay.
the school, directing people up Deerwood.
I think there were a couple days before they put detour signs up.
They were.
No,
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 the
it was
sign,
right away.
the signage went up right away
Yeah.
because there was a tree down just before
Yep.
Yeah.
the washout.
But I mean, I
Yeah.
just noticed, like a couple days into the week,
Mhm.
that they actually had the 102 detour
No, that was there.
No,
Or I just didn't pay
Yeah.
attention to it.
Maybe.
I think
Because
so.
I had to go that way, and
Yeah.
when I came home the next day, I thought, okay, can I drive through? Because I'm just on the other side, and it said, so I had to drive around the sign to get home. Because it said you can't drive through, but I said, well, I'm not driving through, I'm driving in. And then 2 or 3 days after that, they moved it to the middle, so that you knew that you could drive around it.
Yeah, there was issues there because that's such a dark spot, that signage was right in the middle of the road.
It was,
And they were,
yeah.
so we put in a complaint, I put in a complaint through DTI to say like, you can't, that you either light it up with some flashing lights or something, and they chose to move it to the center line.
Yeah.
And then they were still having issues because a lot of people were going into the construction site and turning around inside the construction site to come back. So much so that there was political pressure to get it opened really, really fast. So they worked all weekend, and so now it's opened and paved.
Yeah,
It's,
and
yeah,
guardrails are
all
almost
done,
in.
yeah. I drove by yesterday, there must have been 30 or 40 DTI people working in there.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
they
I mean,
weren't gonna open until the second.
someone spoke to the premier or something happened, who knows what, but it happened very, very quickly.
That's how it should happen.
It should, yeah, especially when it's a full road closure
Right.
on a
Highway.
large
Yeah.
interchange, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
quite a detour to.
It was,
Well,
yeah, and
yeah.
we were seeing a lot of traffic on the Mass Road.
Oh, it was
that
crazy.
going quickly,
Yeah.
too quickly for that road. And same with Deerwood, so.
Because
Yeah.
I had to go into town to take the 4-lane, because I work at King's Landing, so taking Deerwood wouldn't have helped me any, and taking the Maseral wouldn't have helped me any, so I had
Yeah.
to keep driving
Yeah.
around and.
Wow, you did have a big
Yeah.
thing. I
But to-
will have to say, I had to contact DTI when we had water across the road on Mesrel Settlement. And being on Saturday night, I thought I will never hear from anybody. And my email was answered like probably less than 5 minutes. I was
From DTI?
from
They
DTI.
were definitely on
Yeah,
alert,
I was surprised. So
Yeah.
they
On my
shout out to them
To
because
Carol's point, there was a couple of messages in there that it was, we'll let you know when the road is open, and then the message
Nothing,
never.
yeah.
The
'cause-
message.
Oh,
when
and then
do
we
our-
didn't.
When we do our enactments, it's always, here's all the closures, and then before we call the scenario complete, we hear of all the openings
Open,
again.
right,
I didn't
and yeah,
do
we
that.
didn't do that.
And I kinda kept waiting to say, when is it open, when is it open?
Well,
Yeah,
I guess
maybe just
you-
to the
I guess
EMO
you would've
committee.
never, DTI would never have reached out to you
No.
to say that they were officially open or the water had receded, so you couldn't send an alert out unless DTI notified you.
Correct.
Or
Yeah.
someone told you.
Yeah, and I mean, Route 102, that just got open like this week, right? It was like Monday?
Monday.
Sunday night at 9.
It's kind of the way the alert is worded. If it states clearly, we will advise you when the road is open, I guess you're kind of,
Waiting.
Yeah.
you own
You're
that.
wait, yeah.
And
Right.
even,
That's
even
true.
if that only comes to the EMO, because most people are interested in
Yeah.
when it's closed.
Mm-hmm.
You
Right.
could just say it's closed and.
Till further
maybe-
notice.
Till further
of your
notice.
And then you don't
Yeah.
own it.
I-
Yeah,
right
that's-
away.
I think I would offer that you put in your messaging that the road is closed
And follow
And-
NB 511.
and monitor NB 511.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, okay.
Because they're the ones that are ultimately gonna update their website, so that takes it off of you now. You're advising them of the emergency closure. For whatever reason, maybe they have to travel through to get to the hospital, now they know to go another way.
Okay,
But the opening of it would definitely not be in your,
right.
You have no control over it,
right,
other than finding out somebody to tell you that it is
yeah,
open.
follow the app, 511 app or something
Yeah.
to that effect moving forward,
Follow the 511 site for future updates.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So I wonder how come I didn't get any alerts at all? Like I got the one alert from you saying we're moving to alert level 1 because of the road, the tree on the road. That was the only thing I ever got.
So I'm thinking that you need to download your Buoyant
Again? Okay. Yeah,
thing
'cause
maybe?
I'm
Because
trying to
I,
open it now and it just keeps loading and loading and loading
Why
and
don't
doesn't
you-
open.
Because that alert that you got about us moving to level 1, that was only sent to you. That wasn't sent to
okay.
that wasn't sent to the entire municipality. All the other ones were sent to everyone.
And I never got them. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I sent 8
Okay, I'll have to reload it.
and just check or whatever. So yeah, it was actually a good practice because we haven't had the Voyant very long, and it worked very well and very easy to.
It worked well as long as you had internet. If the tree took out your Rogers, then you were kind of out of luck.
Well, that could be why I got none of them, because I only had internet when I went on my data, because we didn't have any power.
Oh, maybe.
Like if you don't have internet, power, you don't have internet.
But you have data.
Right.
You have
You
data.
have
I
data.
don't keep it on all the time,
Oh.
Oh,
because I
that
would
might
drain
be
it. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
might be why
That might
or
be
whatever.
why.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I mentioned there's lots of people like me though, so I don't know how to,
Well, if you get that initial alert, then maybe turn your data on because there could be possibly something.
but mine hits a certain level and it kicks off and doesn't allow me any data.
So you don't get any text messages.
I never got a text, it was all through the,
You don't have a data, you don't have a data plan.
I do, yeah, but if I keep the data on, it drains the
Yeah.
data
Oh,
plan.
I see,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then it stops, and he charges me $50, then it won't let me have access at all until the cycle.
Okay.
No, it was definitely good learning.
It was
It's a good learning experience. You know, first time using the
system.
kind of being thrown into it. Yeah.
The wording was noticeably nicer.
It was nicer.
Then
No, but I
Sentinel.
mean, because you could put more in it.
Oh.
And, no, but you know what I mean?
I thought
Like,
you were saying like I wasn't nice
No, no.
before.
with the old system, it was very,
Terry, you were
Very
very
cryptic.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
very cryptic, and this was very
Yeah.
plain
The-
and very nice to read.
Comparing the two comparing the two
System.
programs, there's no comparison. Like typing into Sentinel, it's like the old. You're using the old when you first started using computers, and then you've got Voyant, which is, you know, anybody really can use it. It's so user friendly and type. I mean,
Do you have a character max or anything?
No.
Which is nice because we did in Sentinel.
Yeah.
it's like what 650 letters or something. It was ridiculous.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
Because I know a couple of our previous alerts when we were just practicing on with Sentinel or whatever, and we would type in our sentence, and then it was like, you've run out of
Like,
space, and we
yeah.
were like, well, we've still got 4 words left. So it's like, okay, delete all that and put it all back in. so.
And people are getting when they get the notification, it says Voyant alert. It's not this random number from
They
another product.
changed
Does it say
every time.
Amwell? Does it say from
Wasn't even
Amwell?
the
I have to
same.
check.
I don't know what it
I don't know if
says.
that's on the other end of it.
It definitely says Voyant alert.
Yes.
Hamilton Rural Community.
I think I knew it was.
It might say Hamel
I
Road
think I
Community.
knew it was from you guys, I think.
It might say Hamel Road Community.
Yeah, it was much nicer, much plainer, easy to tell, easy to
Voyant,
read.
But that is,
Voyant
I,
alert.
I should have sent out
I did,
the
yeah, okay.
updates.
We're not going to send the updates. Remember, we're just going to do it the other way now.
Yeah. No,
Because we can't,
Unless
yeah.
you wanted to send them to the.
It's Voyant alert and then rural.
When if we
community
knew, because we didn't know either,
in
right?
caps.
Yeah, that's good, yeah.
Yeah.
No confusion there, right?
No. So did anybody else have any questions on the Voyant or on Hurricane Lee?
No, good job.
No. Okay. Dan, I'll pass the floor over to you.
Like I said earlier, I'm here to just help you through your process of writing your plan. I've gone through the one that was sent to me. I have some markings on it. I can pass this over to anyone who's doing that, like the updating, or I can talk about the little things like that. What I kind of wanted to bring up is that you're writing a plan, but you're writing 2 versions of it, is what I want to bring to highlight. I want you to understand that you're writing a plan that should get posted on your public-facing website with the basic information that you think the residents need, and then you're writing the plan you're adding to the same plan with very specific information so that if someone grabbed it from this room, they would know how to get a hold of Murray Krause or get a hold of someone if you guys weren't here. Anyone, so that anyone in this room can run an operation without always the people that know something. So the best example I can give you is if you get a chance to go on the City of Fredericton website and look at their publicly facing plan, just to give you an example of what I'm talking about there. Most of what you have here is exactly that, minus people's phone numbers and
It's
stuff like that.
the appendices that have the personal information.
That's right, yeah, yeah. But some of your contingency plans you might want to put those as on your public facing website, so that the public knows a plan. They know what to do in case they don't have internet to go search it, or they don't have to call someone. And I use the example of a shelter, like a warming shelter. My counterparts out west, out east on the Acadian Peninsula, they have a shelter plan that says, this is what you can expect the municipality to do if these triggers are present. You have the municipality or areas of the municipality have no power for greater than 36 hours at a temperature less than minus 15 degrees, right? And that's posted on their plan and on their website, so their municipality, their residents know that if their power goes out, they have to withstand being at home for so long, but then at some point they know automatically that the shelter is going to open, where the shelter is, what services they're going to have, that kind of stuff. Am I?
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
good.
Does that sort of? So that would need to be in here. So I look at the at your action plans and at the contingency plans, and they're perfect. They're highlighting a few things. Public facing wise, that's good, but you want to know everything. You want the details of if the shelter, which shelter it is, everything about that shelter, capacity, phone numbers, services, everything in there for you to run that, so that if someone has a question, or if someone needs to get a hold of someone because the generator isn't working, who is that person, right? That's for you guys. Public facing wise, you're right on track of how you want to be.
We've got another document,
Yeah.
orientation binder, that has a lot of that detail in it.
Okay.
And
Yeah, there was a separate plan for
it's a separate
the
Yeah.
operation.
document. Are you suggesting they should be merged, or?
Appendices, just added to the back maybe, as a working document for you guys. So
See,
when-
those documents, I've looked at them a little bit too,
Okay.
and they actually need some
Work,
work.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, yeah, anyway, we'll have to give that some thought. How we,
Like I said, if you read through the Fredericton Emergency Response Plan, it'll give you a really good idea of how to present it to the public. And then you'll see if you continue on their website. You want me to show you? You want me to go through their website a bit?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can put it up on the screen.
We won't go into detail. We won't go into detail. But I was on your website earlier today to look around as a resident to see, how do I get some information? And I couldn't find too much on it. Am I on the right
Yeah.
side here?
Yeah, I agree.
And so for the shelters, I already have
I see that, yeah,
it,
yeah. You have a list of them.
but I also have details.
Oh, there we go. What a cutie he is.
I also have all
Sounds
the
like we're looking at
details, because especially, not as much for here,
Yeah,
but our shelter that we have at the Scout Lodge.
yes.
So I did a thing on how to use the generator. I have like
Yeah.
all of their sheets, their
So I
sign-in
would
sheets.
just add that to the binder, that working binder, so that if you weren't there, someone would know.
Yeah,
by
and
that.
I have a contact, and I have a few contacts there that we can just call them and they'll look after
Yeah,
everything, so we could add that.
yeah. I just need some internet. RC
and
handle?
installed my alert.
Is that the one?
Installed 7 alerts.
Oh, wow.
Guest
There you go. That's what you're missing.
or events, one of the two. Whichever one works.
Yes.
I think it's guest.
My, pad wasn't working.
Click on events.
On events?
Yeah. And then there should be a box.
It just says connect
Yeah.
automatically.
No,
No,
connect.
just connect automatically.
Yeah, connect
Just
automatically.
keep it checked.
Oh, but it's still locked, right?
Events.
It still has
So
a
disconnect, and then it will come up with a.
Still has a lock
What
on
is
it.
that? Okay, do guest then. Try guest again. Connect automatically. Yeah.
It's connected.
Yeah. There, and there'll be like
Do you want me
little
to
guest
turn
access.
down the lights? We can.
No, I can see over here now.
So you have to click on the. So that would be your computer.
Blanche and Rose.
We actually did look at the Fredericton plan
You did.
briefly, and the Oromocco, they've also got a beautiful plan too.
They do, yeah.
They're obviously professionally prepared.
A lot of larger
A
municipalities do.
lot of information.
Yeah. And you know what, there's nothing wrong with taking their plan and changing a few things and making it your own a little bit. Like keeping that chart. So one of the things that little nitpicky things was that, you know, section, in your first section, page 10,
What version do you have on the front, Dan? I'm just wondering if you got the latest one, August 8th?
August 8th, yeah.
Okay.
It should be August 24th, I think. There was a minor
okay.
changes after
Okay.
that. I think
Yeah.
you probably-
But like on page 10, you have section 9 on positions and agencies and responsibilities, and you go into some detail about that, but then you say all of that again in part 2, in more
Well,
detail.
There's much more
So,
detail. in
more
part-
detail.
Much more
Yeah.
detail in part 2. It tried to keep it as brief as possible in
Yeah.
section 1 and then really expand on it in
Yeah,
section 2.
yeah. But that might be little things where you can save some and have that pared down and reference the other sections, so people, like I was just going back and forth, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
little things like that. Missing like little things like fire, this whole section on page 11, there's a small section on page 11 under section 10 on alerting.
Yeah.
There's a paragraph that says, the fire and police department dispatchers ascertain details of the event and decide whether or not it can be handled by regular municipal services. The agency, the dispatcher, they don't do that. That's not their job. Their job is to take the call and push the call, and the municipality would do the ascertaining if it is or if it isn't. Ambulance should be in that, but I'm not sure that is, I don't know that should be in there because it would mislead the public in thinking about the roles and responsibilities of the dispatcher.
Yeah.
Just little things like that.
While you're on that section, I'll just
Yeah.
point out that after the Hurricane Lee came through,
Yeah.
Ross pointed out, we had a little chat about it, and he said, because you had indicated, Terry, that we went to activation level 1, I think it was, and Ross said, what is that?
Right.
And so, I know it's in our orientation binder. There's a level 1, 2, and 3. And so since then, I've taken.
Yeah, it's missing on here.
And I haven't mentioned, this is the first time I mentioned it, but I've taken those activation level 1, 2, and 3 and embedded them in
That's
there.
perfect,
Okay.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, that was another note I had. I noticed that you had the full and partial and then no enhanced monitoring, so.
yeah, that's right,
yeah.
that's right, I've got all 3 in there now.
Anyways, little things like that I don't, it's just little notes that I made just for your benefit.
Yep.
It wasn't something that I was really expecting to go through today. I can just leave this with you and you can look at my notes kind of thing.
Sure.
If we go into,
Where
Yeah.
was that picture? Is that a Hannibal picture? Is that?
no, that's Grand Lake. 2019 flood, that's Princess Park.
Princess Park.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a neat picture.
My aunt lost her house. In that flood.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So on their website, you're gonna see that they have an emergency preparedness section on the Fredericton website. And that deals with all communications related to emergency preparedness. I see a lot of municipalities going that way, so I encourage it for sure as well in our region. And then they've got all sorts of different products on here, like you created that food, and yeah, perfect. And that would have been great to have on the website for people to download as well.
I think we
That's
did
the
put
kind
that,
of stuff.
or we put it
yeah.
on social media.
Social media we
Social
did.
media.
And,
Yeah.
well, we made a post on the website.
Yeah, under
But
special
not-
announcements or
Yeah,
something.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Add it for sure.
So here's their emergency response plan. I don't know if I can remember. Yeah, there we go. It's just a very clean, like you said, very clean, and you can tell it's very professionally
They paid
done.
They paid a
Yeah.
consultant to do
But
that, I'm sure.
You're seeing 31 pages, including a few annexes.
Yeah.
The binder that I have for them is like 300 or 400 pages.
Yeah.
This is just the public facing one because they've got all the other infrastructure
Right.
and all the other departments and stuff like that. But yours definitely could be very similar. You have that public facing one, and then you've got the meat and potatoes of how and who you're gonna call, so. But it's very, very clean, and I would steal a lot of this if I were you, just to, just as a format, like a template on how to organize things more than anything. But they talk about the basic plan, some definitions, just like you did, it's perfect. Because it's an education piece, your public facing one is definitely an education piece for the residents of Hanwell, and then the authority, what gives EMO Hanwell the authority. Activation of the emergency response plan, the EOC, where it is and that kind of stuff. Maybe you want to tell them exactly where it is, or maybe you just want to keep that kind of separate. The response group just gives them a bit of information. The mayor, deputy mayor, EMO director, some roles and responsibilities, but only the roles and responsibilities of Fredericton. So they would never, you'll notice that they never post the roles and responsibilities of another agency. So in here you have Ambulance New Brunswick, you have DNR and all those other people. It's probably best to take that out, just because they will tell you what they do, right, on that side of things. So now it's hard because it's good information. So the only other thing is, if you feel it's valuable, I would send that section off to
them.
Lauzon, is that
Oh, yes, Andre.
at RCMP to say, hey, you know, is it okay to post this, or can you edit this a bit, and we'll put it into our plan however you feel fit. I would feel comfortable with that, and then they would too, to say, yeah, that was authorized by me, it was vetted and stuff like that. But
So we would keep it in our plan, but not put it out to the public's plan.
yeah,
Yeah.
for the most
General
part.
information.
General
Yeah.
information for the public. You know, it might be that you want policing in here, but it would be very minimal on what their roles and responsibilities are, and then, you know, how to get a hold of them. Maybe, you know how they post, at the meeting, I don't know if you guys were there, but at the meeting, they gave us a 1-800 number to call for non-emergency complaints, to let the RCMP know of things happening in the community. Maybe something like that is good to throw in there, right? To say, and you know, little things like that. Fire rescue, definitely. Some transportation stuff if you want. Engineering, I mean, they go into a lot, right? Because they have more services, of course. But you steal and stuff all that you want.
Copy and paste.
I mean, that's-
Paste, yeah.
that's how bylaws are done.
Change the,
That's how bylaws are done. We don't invent the horse, you just,
Yeah.
you copy, you find one and you use their stuff, yeah.
That's why people put this on municipalities and whatever.
To share.
governments Put it on the internet. Like, I was doing research and I found some really good stuff with government of BC.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we first
Share it.
started, there was only, I think the rural community of Miramichi had been established at the time, and when we asked them about their plan, not thinking of the city as going, because, I mean, we hardly knew what we were doing, let alone the whole city of Fredericton. And when they sent their little plan that they were still working on, they hadn't even finished it, it was far less than ours. Like, fewer pages, no details, no nothing, and
That was
so-
that public facing side of it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, no, I think they were still working on theirs, so
On
they hadn't
everything.
even developed it as far as we had.
Okay.
So then we went to the village of New Maryland and a couple places like that, and they helped us
Yeah.
with the
With
one
this, yeah.
that we wrote.
Yeah.
Right,
And
and
wasn't
it
a
follows
professional.
very closely with the EMO template. So I
Yes.
think if you called up the EMO
Yeah.
template,
You're
he
right,
kind of guided us to
to that,
what we have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's right.
And now we're, I guess.
You don't have, I'm not saying change what you're doing, I'm not saying rewrite it, but if you're ever looking for wording or on things like that, definitely, that's one resource to use. I think you've got a good plan, like, other than it being all blue, so I referenced the old plan just to see formatting wise and how it looked. And that's, I mean, that's what I
It's
was
very
just,
similar, I mean, these
Yeah.
people worked on that plan, and
Yeah.
the format was exactly what
It's
you
easy
guys
to read.
wanted, I think, at the time.
yeah,
So all we really did was freshen it up and
Yeah.
keep the same format.
that's right.
Yeah.
You're more than welcome, I'm not saying that you should change that, I'm just, if you were looking for wording, and like I said, like the RCMP side of things, I would just sort of ask them first before
Right.
you continue on with that
Yeah.
stuff, but.
I think too, it's important to note that places like the city and the town of Oromocto, they have staff.
Oh, yes.
They're
Yeah,
not
that's
relying
right.
on the
volunteers.
residents
the
to
volunteers, exactly.
volunteer to do this
Yeah,
stuff.
that's right,
So I think for
yeah, you
the
do,
volunteers that have done this,
yeah,
it's excellent.
that's right.
And they have
That's right.
legal teams and
And-
all of
Yeah,
that as
all of
well,
it.
so.
And
Yep.
EMO actually, if they want a better model, they should post a better model.
That's right.
Invent a template you fill
Yeah.
in.
That's right,
Yeah.
and we've asked for it.
Mhm.
And so we have a whole planning team now, including a provincial planning and preparedness, a regional planning and preparedness, and a plans auditor. And so I think it was over a year ago, I asked for all the plans, maybe more now, for this region. They was asked for across the province, and that plans manager has been reading to his heart's content, trying to find something. So I hear that there's a guide in the process, and hopefully at some point, maybe a template.
But that would be nice, because the province is very good at providing us with
Yeah,
what you
do this.
must do,
Yeah,
but
because
they
it's
don't
the
tell
only
you how
compulsory
the
thing.
heck you're
Yeah.
going
You
to
become
get
a
there.
municipality.
So let them take some responsibility and put something out there that everyone can follow in the whole province. If they want us to be similar, they should take the lead, not one of the little municipalities or whatever. It should be the province, which is you guys taking the lead.
So-
And
yeah,
especially with
that's right.
so many new municipalities that have
Exactly.
just.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
happened,
I've been
like-
chatting with a couple, right? And so that's the thing. The one caveat that they've recognized is that one template doesn't fit all municipalities.
No?
Very true.
And a template for you folks might not work for Moncton to some degree. So that's the one issue. The other little caveat is that MBEMO does not really have much to stand on when they tell you what your plan should be. I know that's what you want, but the only thing in the Emergency Measures Act says that a municipality is required a plan, they're required to submit it to MBEMO, but it can be created by yourselves, or it could be created by a consultant. And who is MBEMO to tell a consultant, right? If you're happy paying the service for a consultant. So there's, in saying all of that, they're still working, I think, on a template for smaller municipalities for sure. But it's still not not one of those things that they're gonna say it has to be.
Well, I have a suggestion,
Mhm.
if you want to take it back to people, that where the province made the decision to establish your cities and towns and villages, and then your rural communities, and your rural districts, they should provide templates for each
I
of
was just gonna
those
say. Or
designations.
within the template, start with the city and say, if you were a town, you go to this level. If you were a village, you go to this level. If you're a rural community,
The
you go to
bottom
this
line
level.
in any plan, whether it be a city, a town, or in my house, is the health and safety of the safety of, and the health and safety of the community.
Yeah.
So any plan can be made any way, but your first uptake is make sure your residents are safe. And you can
I don't think
provide.
that's under dispute.
No, but I'm just trying to say, it doesn't matter what your plan looks like, as long as the plan has the foremost, to keep the
Correct.
residents safe.
Yeah.
Currently.
The template doesn't really matter.
That is correct, that currently, right now, the way government is running its operation, there is no
Standard.
outline or absolute way to do it. You could write it up on toilet paper if you wanted to,
Yeah.
so.
But yet, then we have one for a few years, and then they say, this is the new model that we'd like you to
But
follow.
there's nothing
So-
legislative to say you have to do it this
No,
way.
that's not.
Yeah.
They are gonna provide a new model, I suspect, but it might be years from now, or
Yeah.
it might be tomorrow, they don't tell me, but, I wouldn't come in here tomorrow with the new template and say, change everything you've done.
No.
I would never do that, right? Even if they told me to do that, I know the work that you guys put into your plan and all that editing and hard work, so I would never say that. I'll bring them in and they can tell you, but it wouldn't be me, right?
Yeah.
Because I know that. But if we want to work on making it suitable for you, then I'm happy to help you with that for sure. But I'm never going to say that your plan's denied because it doesn't look like what NBEMO wants. What I am going to do is I say, okay, are you complete? All right, let's exercise it and see if it's complete. That's all that matters. Is the content is it gonna pass the mustard around and get everyone doing it? So if these three get hit by a car traveling or a bus tomorrow going to Moncton for something, and one of you guys activate the MEOC here, is that binder gonna get you through the event? That's all I wanna know.
I think it
Because if you
And you
rely
don't have-
only on 3 people to do it, then it's just not the proper plan. Yeah.
And it's not like you're being asked to memorize everything.
No, no.
You pull the binder out, you read it page to page.
So that's what I say when I look at your org chart, that's great. I just wouldn't put the names in for the public facing side, but what they do is they do something like this for their public facing side. See how they have they show people that the required attendees for that would be on the left side, and then on the right side might be additional staff, and then their EOC is down at the bottom, and they show a distinction
They just
between
put the positions
For
in
the
those.
Yeah.
I
positions.
think we
Yeah.
changed that on the 24th, the other version, didn't we?
Well,
took
there's a
out
minor
names.
change in the 24th, but we do
You
have
took
our
out the
names
name.
there.
Oh, you
and
do?
Yeah.
All we do is make reference to these people can fill these different roles.
But positions, we didn't add names, I think we took them out, didn't we, in the last discussion?
Because with this committee, there is
The
no
names are still on
designated
the chart.
positions
There isn't.
per se.
No,
No,
So you and I can come in and be the only two in here, so we have to pull the binder out.
yeah,
Then
Do
we've
it
got
all.
to do
And figure it
everybody's
out.
job.
yeah,
right?
exactly.
So a playbook on how to access Voyant, right, to send a message. That's just one example.
Yep.
There is an orientation binder that we have that has a whole
Wow.
bunch of information beyond this.
That's good.
So we're gonna have to figure out, do we want that to be part of this or a supplementary document or?
Yeah,
We could just have it as,
at the annex.
at the
at the
at
end.
the end,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. So if we look really quick, their annexes, like they've got all their roles and responsibilities like you do, which is good, but I was just looking to see what their annexes are.
So Dan, in other municipalities, is the CAO always the head of the EMO committee,
No.
emergency committee?
The city of Fredericton has a director of EMO. Under the Emergency Measures Act, you have to assign a director of EMO, so that would be you in your case. But they have the Chief Killenbeck as the director of EMO. Then they have assistant director of EMO, who is also part of their safety branch, and that's Brad Cameron. And then they've got an EOC coordinator, Stephen Moore. That's their EMO senior staff. Now, the director of EMO still reports to the CAO because, as you know, the CAO is the one that's really approves everything and anything when it comes to stuff like that. So Stephen Hart still plays a huge part in everything that, he's part of the EMO committee. So I sit on their committee, and as well as their transportation folk and all of that, but they have their own director. They can do that. Now, there's lots of municipalities that don't. There's lots of municipalities that the CAO is the EMO director. New Maryland is the same. Cynthia is the EMO director, but she has an EOC director as well, right? So she doesn't have to worry about the functioning of the EOC when they activate. She just has to be the overarching signing authority, right? So she lets, I can't remember his name, unfortunately.
I do, he's really tall.
Yes, very tall.
Very tall.
Ex-RCMP.
Yes.
He manages the room very well.
Yeah.
So that's why they have him. You can do anything. The only thing that the Emergency Measures Act is asking is that you have to assign a director of EMO. It doesn't say who it has to be. In smaller communities that don't have a huge staff, it's usually the CAO. Nothing's wrong with that, right?
And that's what we started with.
Yeah.
Trying to
staff, so I mean.
That's right, yeah.
In Central York, where I volunteer a lot, I think the structure is they have a counselor that's responsible for the EMO committee who, like, at their process, they don't take volunteers for everything. You come forward, you offer to volunteer, but they pick and choose who they have on their volunteer committee, and it's usually chaired by one of the counselors. The one's assigned, like rec, one's assigned EMO, one's assigned.
Yeah, but the EMO is supposed to be exempt from the council.
Is that?
That's, yeah.
Okay.
It's a separate entity, operating body from the
Yeah.
council.
Like they, my understanding is that counselors can attend our meetings and stuff like that. However, if there's an emergency, then they're in a different area,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, we always, as MBEMO, we encourage mayor and council to be separate.
Yeah.
Yes.
They have a huge responsibility of public confidence, not operations and support. You know, you as the director of EMO would go and brief them occasionally and provide them good key talking points and maybe even task them to do stuff, right? Be liaison officers to the community and go out and talk to people that you maybe have contacted the EOC. And so you would use them to say, okay, we need some public facing.
That's our understanding that they stay separate.
Yeah, definitely. It seems to help a lot more. We've seen mayors come in and at times and create havoc. Not that they're looking to just support and help, but
They're not used to
they have
the
different
operational
pressures.
procedures.
Unfortunately, mayor and council have different pressures than a committee member here. That's all. So sometimes their judgment gets a little clouded. So you can see, really, this is the city of Fredericton, and this is what their EOC would look like. So these are some of the people that sit. Just down right
We have no idea how to fix it, it's fine.
So they have that top part where they do have city council and they do have council issues, but they are outside of that U shape at the bottom, right? The EMO director reports to them for stuff like that, and typically that goes through the CAO. So I noticed that sitting on meetings during Hurricane Lee, Stephen Hart in Fredericton, he was viciously typing as we were talking because you knew that he had a briefing to mayor and council at some point, right? So he was making some notes because he was running off. So now they're a big organization and they've got a lot going on. I'm not saying that that this is what, you know, everyone should strive for, but there's definitely a few things in here. Fire rescue would be part of you guys, and support staff, and supply admin, and a duty officer. That you guys may have that now, it just has to integrate into an EOC. Red Cross might be a part of that during your social services side of things. So.
I find
Yeah,
it
I was-
interesting.
sorry.
Sorry, go ahead, Terry.
I always thought it would be very advantageous for us during an emergency. Like I often thought, you know, the flooding doesn't really affect Hanwell kind of thing. So you know that Oromocto usually activates, and it would always be neat to just go and sit and just kind of see how they actually operate during
Yeah.
an emergency or something like that.
Yeah.
And even the re-op, it would be neat to, like I've gone and watched you guys in session before, and I think it's a great opportunity for the rest of you guys to see, because it is a lot like how we would set up. I mean, you guys are probably a little bit more formal than what we would be as a committee.
My world has changed a lot though from what you remember, because everything seems to be virtual these days. I get a lot more attendance when I do it virtually than if I were to put people in. If you can imagine, right? Because they can just sign on right at the hour and be done within the hour. And,
I prefer virtual myself.
Do ya?
For that reason, you
Yeah.
don't have to travel, spend money on gas, and you.
Maybe eventually, but I find you don't get a rapport with the people.
No, you
Because,
do well done.
because we're here in person, and then if it is an emergency, that's when you wanna know. I can say, you know, hey, Chris, what about this? Hey, so, because you know who's doing what and how they react, or who's nervous and who's not, and, you know, then eventually, virtually is fine, but I think if you don't have the rapport with the people, you don't have that great teamwork.
Well, especially when we've never really gone through it
Yeah.
before. I wouldn't want to think that somebody was really nervous and scared to do their role, and they're just sitting behind a screen and us not be able to tell, and then something happen. I would much
Yes.
rather us all be together and
Well, that's
help
when
each other.
someone can jump in.
Like, I'm gonna be honest, Hurricane Lee, it was minor. It was a minor storm, but between me trying to get my computer working, talking to Terry on the phone, I've got her on speaker, I'm trying, like, it was chaotic.
it was.
It was chaotic being just, you know, the two of us not together. It was just, it was interesting.
During an emergency, definitely in person,
Yeah.
but, I mean, looking around the room here, just we're in person now, how can you tell we've never had to do this, or our newer members, so how can you tell which one of us would be nervous or unprepared? You can't really, just looking around us.
Well, that's what the exercises are for.
Yeah, which we've only done one since we joined.
Well, that sort of happened when we first made the plan. There's one subdivision that has their own water system.
Yes, I see that in your plan.
Yeah,
Church.
and I called the province to see who looks after that. No one could tell me, no one could whatever, and then finally I got that it was a consultant. And I said, my question was to the person on the other end of the phone, so if there's a contamination in the water system in Birchwood subdivision, this is the consultant that will look after it. Well, when I hung up from that, I got calls from everywhere saying, we hear there's a contamination in the something. And I said, no, I'm trying to find out if we had a contamination,
How to deal
who
with
would
it.
look after, who's responsible for helping us clear that up.
Yeah, it
And
needs
oh
to
my
be
God,
on
the province blew up, like they thought there was a contamination, they'd have to
Well, that's one way to get.
Nobody heard the if.
That's right, that's
If,
right.
you know?
That's right.
Just say there is, and then everybody you need will come to you, and then you
Yeah.
can just write down their names.
Well, no, but they were panicking on the
Yeah.
other end of the phone.
I see you corrected all the mistakes in the declaration of state of local emergency, thank you. Yeah. They were all referencing the wrong subsections.
So, how did, if I can just ask this question, I don't even know if it's a simple, it probably isn't, but when you have, not even going so far right now as declaring a state of emergency, but in a case where you have an event, and you say, okay, so flooding, water over roads, all of this stuff, and, you know, there's obvious reasons why, where roads don't fall under EMO at all, like,
Under Hanwell.
Or handball.
so
It's
Still the
DTI.
provinces.
DTI, yeah.
how do you get it repaired? How do you follow through after your emergency to prevent another emergency from happening? Like, is there supposedly in these plans, sort of a debriefing position where you, after an event, you get together and you look for the solutions, or?
Yeah, like if after 3 more leaves, the same road floods because the culvert's too small, does DTI recognize that? Does somebody say, well, if we replace that, we'd never have these 3 emergencies, or?
Short answer, yes, they do. DTI has been working really hard at creating an emergency response program. They have some new directors there, and they have an emergency preparedness team now. So that's why there was a lot more response to your emails, was because all of the directors' resources, all his staff, were working that weekend for that. So they're getting a little bit better. If you drive by the Island View culvert washout, you're going to see that they've
They had
really,
to, it's a major highway.
yeah, but not that they fixed it, but if you actually stop to look at it, they've made it more robust.
Oh,
Like,
yes.
hopefully it'll never happen again
Yeah,
there.
right,
So I think that's their plan, is that they try to fix it and fix it properly now. That might not happen in all cases, of course. In some cases it might be a quick fix, and if it happens again, I think it goes back to these documents and showing, hey, you know, this road washed out this time, and it also washed out again this time, and this time. Here's my report. You know, maybe you guys can do something about it, right? Like,
And that's
it's
kind of
not-
why I did
there's
this
more pressure
report,
to
so that we
DTI.
would have
But should-
something.
I'm sorry, but I wanted to finish with, should we not perhaps be sending these reports to DTI? Because they may not have followed all of our alerts.
Oh, they definitely did not.
No.
Yeah, they don't follow
So,
your alerts, no.
For them to even prioritize some of our issues, we have to inform them.
Right.
So,
So we actually sent a letter to DTI
We did.
about vegetation and different stuff, but we also, after Hurricane Lee, we told them that, you know, these are the roads that we had some flooding on,
And
so.
I do think,
Insufficient culverts.
does the Minister of DTI live in Island View?
pardon me?
The Minister of DTI?
Does he live in Island View?
I don't think.
Because
No,
they certainly won't listen
No,
to
he
Joe
doesn't.
Home.
No, he doesn't.
No.
It wouldn't be the minister, but.
Where does- Because he was tweeting, and a lot that was going on there.
Oh.
Richard Ames?
Oh, Richard
Oh,
lives
he's-
on the other
he's
side.
Other
That's
side of the
right.
river,
He's
he's
Cascade.
Central York.
Oh, okay, so he was all on,
He was on it.
he was honest, like he was sharing
He was
stuff.
the one that was sharing on Facebook, it's like, we're gonna open by 9 o'clock this.
Yeah, he
when
was all on
Sunset
it.
was open, he was
Yeah,
right
he
on
was all on it.
Facebook.
So did your letter to DTI,
We haven't heard anything.
yeah, but did it include the ongoing issue on Greenwood Drive?
Yes,
Yes.
It
at
goes-
the substation?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that goes under once or twice a year.
Yes,
Yep.
very specific, yeah.
Good.
It was very specific areas were called out,
Yeah.
but then it was also, you need to look at every single road in Hanwell. There's issues on every single one. There's flooding in 3 places on the Mausers Summit Road that happen yearly.
Right.
Yearly flooding, there's at least
If
2 or
it's
3
annual
spots.
flooding, it should
Yeah.
be noted for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, and then there's one in Somerset, so we laid it out.
And then
you sent it to
flooding
them.
on
Huh,
And you
yeah.
sent it to
The letter, yes.
And the other one?
I think that's
The other
my
animal?
only recommendation, I guess, for that, is to continue.
I'm thinking
apply and crusher.
That's
It
all we
was
can
on
do.
here.
I think so.
Cornelius
Yeah.
and.
Yeah.
I was
It's a
sitting,
thin one.
I was sitting in the middle of it. Marlo.
Marlo,
Yeah,
that was really bad.
yeah, that was also,
So I got a couple of photos of that. I'm not sure how, if it was through you or from someone. Anyways, I sent that up to the Provincial Operations Center, and I noticed that they used it in their sit reps. So
Okay.
if those photos that get into sit reps, they go to every MLA and every that sit rep goes to the premier. So when I always ask for photos because sometimes my photos get put in, and that pictures are 1,000 words, and
Yeah.
people see that. And
And
it's
coming
pretty
from
I
the
think
EMO
I-
committee gets more hype than a neighbor, like a homeowner.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
I'll
I
tell
did
you,
send you.
as a homeowner whose home was flooded several times, the voices can be powerful.
Mhm.
I've got a nice big culvert. And that was before I held any position here.
But it took several years.
Well,
It took several years to get that.
well,
No doubt.
it took a lot of loud voices and suing and,
So all these blue things on that website,
Yeah,
they're all
hyperlinks.
just links to,
Emergency preparedness for pets,
yeah. to
power
our
outages.
Yeah.
They've stolen a lot of stuff from Public Safety Canada, because Public Safety Canada is the overarching
Yeah.
document holder, I guess, and responsibility. So we even steal their products. So you'll notice some of our links just go directly to their website. So should yours. Let them create the videos and create
Yeah,
the posters, and
You
you
don't
just have to share it.
redo something that's
No,
already
no,
done.
no, that's right. So I'm not sure, like your lightning and thunder, some of these might go directly to something. Maybe not. This is all.
How come
Some job here,
The
separate-
government of Canada's got it.
Yeah, right. So that's how.
Can you prepare for a thunderstorm?
Yeah.
Keep your pet calm.
Well, you can.
All nervous
Whole,
people in
whole
your house.
house surge protectors, if there's anything.
Deal with earphones on the dog.
Yeah. Anyway, something to look at there. I'll give this before I forget. Give this out to you guys. Now that we're talking about that kind of stuff. So. This is to go with your plan. This is one of the recommendations that our gentlemen from the planning and preparedness section have worked on, but I am giving you just a snippet of it for now because the document is, I don't know, hundreds of pages long and it's not ready to be published yet. But I wanted to give this to you to add to that section of annexes. It comes, I was thinking that you could throw it here just before your part 3. Somewhere in there. And this is a good exercise that you could do some evening amongst yourselves. The first one, the checky box one, you can just do that at home and sort of say, okay, everyone take it home and see what we come back with.
Right,
Does everyone feel the same way, right?
Right.
What emergencies, should we expect for that? So that's sort of like that. But the second one, I'll walk through with you a little bit.
Can I just ask a question about this one?
Definitely.
What is SEICT?
Where are we looking here?
Hydrological, right-hand side?
Yes.
34.
oh, SE is number 34.
Good.
Oh, I don't know, you better Google that, I'm not sure. It might be,
after drought.
it might, I don't know.
I'll look
To be
it up.
honest.
Yeah, I was just
It means something dry, but I don't know what.
Storm surge.
Google it.
Covered in bed.
This comes from Alberta, and I just stole it. It's a PDF, if you want the PDF, I can share that. I just cleaned it up, my team cleaned it up, not just me. And
It's a standing wave in an enclosed or partially enclosed body of water.
so in a lake of sorts.
In a lake.
Like a
Yeah.
tidal wave?
Nope, not
Strong
tidal.
winds cause it. So probably almost like, maybe it's like a,
Whirlpool,
Like
like
a-
a,
yeah, something like
is that what
that.
they're called?
It's a standing wave oscillating in a body of water.
Okay.
Could be like a,
Yeah, fine.
Not something you'll
What do you
like.
call it?
We probably won't have to worry about it.
No, okay.
Oh, you got
Well, maybe, oh,
Yoho.
Yoho, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah,
There's one off Deer
Yoho.
Island where,
You're right.
Deer
It's like a
Island,
whirlpool
Deer
thing.
Island and Searsport Maine,
Yeah.
and they all meet and there's a whirlpool on the island.
So yeah, that's just to sort of do a checkie, just to say, have we thought of everything for hazards? And then following that, there's the Appendix A document that I kind of gave to you as reference, but this is really a little more complex, but this is actually the, this gives you the information to do your own hazard risk vulnerability assessment and score it. So I can always help you with this. We can have an evening solely on this. I did this as part of a team with the planning and preparedness folks at EMO, where we did an all hazards for the province. So it took us 3 days to go over a very similar list that you see here on page, well, it says 24, 25, but, and we scored it, and we Googled, and we checked all the stuff from Environment Canada and so forth to say what's the likelihood and the probability, the history. We scored it, and it gave us a risk score. Once you, then from there you can say, okay, what's our top 5? Right, the highest ones. Why don't we write a plan based on those to start, and then we'll work on the next 5 or something like that. You don't have to do them all, but just the ones that score the highest, right?
But Dan, you're getting to the same thing we've got in the specific potential emergencies and
Yes, and
disasters.
that's what we did
Yeah.
too.
So some thought has already been given to that.
Perfect.
We might come up with the same thing, but
You might.
we could expose something else.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of been done, but this would
Good.
put it into
Good.
a quantitative type.
Yeah, and I mean, you can add that, once you have it completed, you could add it to your public facing so that people know, you know, that you guys as a committee say these are the top 5 hazards to plan for as an individual. And then here's the contingency plans as a municipality if you want. If you've done a lot of this work, then that's perfect, right? Like,
Well,
I just
not
want
to
to
this level, but I think
Yeah.
there's been a lot of thought given to what the
Good.
potential emergencies
Yeah.
are.
Good. Well, that's good.
the dam breach.
This-
look at that?
This is
Yes.
just something new that's coming out. You're gonna see this once they do that template and once they do the guide for municipalities, they're calling it. Planning guide for municipal officials, you'll see it at the top there. So
Yep.
it is, this is just in draft, it hasn't been approved by, the whole document hasn't been approved by the director of EMO. But I wanted to take that section out, so, because that would take time to work on it. But it just gives you some thought to when you're doing plans and stuff.
Well, the very first thing that I noticed that we don't have in our plan is the active shooter, an attacker or whatever,
It's
and
becoming a lot more prominent.
it is,
It is,
because
yeah.
they just had that at Leo Hayes
Yeah.
the other day, so, I mean, it's, with the
Yeah.
school so close to us, and,
So in a situation like that, you want to see what your part in that would be. You'd find that our CMP are very hush-hush on that.
Yeah, we don't have
And
much part in
As
that.
you know, down, just what was the last barricaded person down in Hanwell Park? Hanwell
yes.
Trailer Park.
We knew nothing about it.
No one knew anything about it, right?
I do.
Yeah, social
Well, because
media.
someone lives there.
Yeah, and social media helped us, right, find out about it. But I have to always say to myself, like, if there was a threat to the public, they would let us know, right? Either through an ad alert, or they would reach out to MBMO or to yourselves. They
My
would-
True.
only thing with that, I have our CMP's contacts or whatever, but they didn't have mine.
No,
They have the office, but they had no way, because
Getting
that
hold
was
of you.
before, that was early in the morning, right?
oh, yes, yes.
And I just thought, like, we had so many people were contacting me and saying, like, what is happening? And I'm like, we weren't notified. A lot of people were very upset that we weren't notified, but then I was thinking, okay, well, I don't even think that they would have had my cell phone numbers and stuff like that, so, but I think that's something that we really
But even
need to.
if we were notified, we couldn't give them information anyway.
No, you wouldn't.
Like, you couldn't provide anybody with information anyway.
No, but I'm just saying, like, if they're, maybe not even in that situation, but if the police ever had to get a hold of me, that was, so that's something I need to address, so that
With
they
them.
do have
Yeah,
that, like fire chief, obviously, I
Yeah.
talk to Murray all the time, Chief Gross or
Yeah.
whatever, and
and
stuff
they
like
would
that.
reach out to him probably, and that would be your connection, right? So in the
Okay.
past, we've had barricaded incidents where the fire department has been on standby. This has been years ago, but I remember being on standby.
I remember too.
Yeah,
Steve,
so
yeah.
they're part of the 911 system, which is a link to you as a whole, right? So
Okay,
if there's an incident where they needed Hanwell, it's not so much that they would need the coordination of the EOC maybe not at first, because they would do their own coordination and their own logistics, and they're not
Right.
gonna involve you at all on any of that, unless they need to borrow your building, which is a very, that's a possibility.
that's a possibility.
And then at that point, you may wanna activate this group to support them in any way that you can with maybe logistics and food deliveries or
Contacts,
yeah,
whatever.
whatever it might
Yeah.
be, right? Have a liaison officer for that purpose. And there's gonna be a lot of media, and so you might wanna set up what we call a joint information center, where you have a spokesperson for the municipality of Hanwell that's gonna speak on behalf, maybe it's most likely
So
the mayor, but they wanna have that same messaging as the RCMP has, as does the province of New Brunswick. So, and that, it happens all the time. So when we had our Stein Lake fires in St. Andrews, that, what we call the JIC, Joint Information Center, that got activated right away, so that everyone's saying the same thing. So that Red Cross is telling the public that show up at the reception center the same thing that you're gonna hear from the Premier or from the Mayor of St. Andrews or DNR, right? So they all share that information. DNR has their comms person, MBMO has their comms person, you have your comms person, right? And they all sort of are linked in virtually once again, but nonetheless, so that when they want to do a press conference, you're all linked in to make that happen, right? Because that's going to happen on a moment's
And you're not
notice.
contradicting each other.
Oh yeah, that's the worst for public confidence. You're done if that happens. So that's why sometimes when I'm able to, I share with you key messages, and that's for you to distribute to your mayor and council for the most part, because they're probably speaking on behalf of the municipality, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Chief Crouse actually set me up for the fire calls, so I always get the
You'll see that,
alerts,
yeah.
so that I can be prepared that if
You're aware.
As
if there's something going on, then I
As you
can get out of my pajamas
yeah,
and be ready to roll if I have to. kind
Now,
of thing.
Terry, as far as like active shooters for over at the school,
Yeah,
if you need any information on that, I can get you in contact with who looks after that through the school district.
Yeah, because when we were at one of the school meetings with the principal, he said one of the things that, just off the top of his head, it's not a plan or anything, that, remember Susan, he said that the higher grades might be able to be evacuated out the back of the building and come through the trail to this center, so that there would be no out front notice of what was going on, kind
Correct.
of thing. And he had just casually mentioned that,
Yeah.
so there's a little bit of a scenario.
yeah,
You remind me of the incident in Fredericton not too long ago, where they had a barricaded person up around Montgomery Street. And I was actually sent there to facilitate the evacuation of the MBTA building,
Okay.
because they didn't have enough officers to do that. But they also had to evacuate the school, and then where could they take them
Yes.
to transfer them over to parents? So the coordination of that might be very important for you folks as well, where it was, I had to get a hold of the city of Fredericton, they had to make sure that Grant Harvey was open, It's in case a child on a bus waiting for parents had to use a washroom. So that kind of logistics you may be involved in, but it may be not for here because they're too close. So you may have to activate Station 1 or something like that for them to have a rendezvous point, or maybe a connection with a community stakeholder of a church that could open up to for the same purposes or something like that, right? Always thinking of that kind of stuff. That, and that's probably where Terry would come in and then call one of you guys who might know someone, or right, like knows. However it works out.
Yeah.
It's always, you can plan all you want, but at the end of the day, it's, you know, the contact. This is my plan. I'll admit to you guys, we were writing regional plans for a very long time till this was what mattered. Is the people on my list, right? Because at MBEMO, I don't own anything. I don't have anything. I'm just a person that knows who has it and who can do it, right? And so that's it. So this is the provincial side of things. This is the municipal side of things. And then this is all of your, well, no, sorry, this is all the shelters and reception centers for municipalities, and this is all community-based contacts, and that's my plan. All right, because that's just how it works in my world, right?
And the
And in
same
your
for
world,
us.
very
Handle
much,
doesn't
right?
have anything. We don't have public works. We don't have all
Yeah.
that stuff. So we have phone numbers.
You have phone numbers, but yeah, I mean, and that's it, right? So,
In a nutshell.
That's true.
yeah. Nonetheless, there is a few things that come to mind that you probably do have to have a plan for in the case of nursing homes. I'm not sure how connected you are with the few that you have, and do all three have an emergency plan? So remember that because of your bylaw and you're an emergency measures group, you have the right under the act to request their emergency plan, right? Because they're within your municipality. Because what probably will happen is that Murray Krause is going to reach out to you at 3 o'clock in the morning saying there's a fire at a nursing home and we're not letting them back in, and now they need to go somewhere, but it's -7 and they can't sit outside any longer. And they probably, I hope they have a great plan. I hope they have a great plan, right? That they have a transportation plan and an alternate resource location facility ready to go at a moment's notice. I assume that everyone has that.
There's one that I would go live at myself. And there's one I wouldn't take my kitty cat.
But that's something that should be in your plan, is not the public facing one, but in your binder of plans, you should have their plan in an annex to say, I can reference that plan. You have the right to ask them for that plan, and also, unfortunately, I hate to say this, but you also have the right to help them with the plan if they so need that.
Oh.
I know that's more work, but, or, you know, you do what I do and say they can also have someone write it for them. Yes, if they don't want to do it. But they have to have something. Most nursing homes are great with evacuation plans to get them out because of a fire. It's mandatory, usually through social development, but that's the extent of it. But if they had to find a new location at 3 o'clock in the morning, I don't know. The resources aren't there, right? In a lot of cases, so.
Because I know when I was with you guys, there was one special care home up north. Their response was, we'll just send everybody to the hospital.
Yeah.
And they were told quite quickly that we
That
had
wouldn't happen.
plan B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And most likely they would be calling you guys, chief would be calling you to say, can we open up one of the buildings temporarily until daylight for family to come pick up. Like it could be a pickup location too. And then you might be left with 3 or 4, they might be left with 3 or 4 that they have to find alternative.
Almost all of them need wheelchair accessibility, transportation.
Yeah, that should be there.
Can't be evacuated in a normal vehicle.
No. So those are, I hate to add more to your plate.
We've already been through that.
Yeah, we were aware of that.
Start over almost.
No, I think
No,
that
you think,
we'll
like, you
just,
guys did a really good job, now it's just
I
time
wouldn't
to
change.
Just
massage
keep
it.
reviewing.
we'll just keep
your-
adding.
I wouldn't, yeah, I wouldn't start over. You have too good of a plan to start over. You know, you're reviewing this now and you're rewriting it now, but I wanna be clear, I expect you guys to review it and update it every year.
Yeah.
There's, you know, like right now, I know that I don't have the newest copy, but I see there's some counselors that shouldn't even be on this. So you're always gonna have new information and new contact information that is updated every year.
Well, we have a plan for that, there's a modification
Yeah.
page that we.
Yes, that's right, yeah. So it's not like a create once and forget it for 5 years. I think that has happened, and we see a lot of plans that are dated 2012, 2009, right? In smaller municipalities, very similar. You have a bigger EMO, but there's some that have 3 or 4 people and that's it, and they write it to meet compliance and that's it, so.
And it's a living document, so it's
Yeah.
never gonna change.
It is, you're gonna add things to it.
So that's
as
why I
well.
say, like, don't scrap it, because this is a
No.
living document, so
Yeah.
make the changes to go forward.
Yeah, and it's not like
That's
it's a bylaw that needs like the 3 readings, like
Right.
it's literally like 1 meeting and we can have it adopted,
Yeah.
kind of thing with
And then if
council.
it doesn't work, if you have to activate it, well, then you find out what part of that section didn't work at that time, and you make the changes, that's where you do your after action, and talk about how everything went, and we go back and say, well, in theory, that should have went that way, but it actually went this way. So we just take those words out, put this in, and hopefully the next time, it'll work like that.
Oh, yes, don't be disheartened. Don't, you can post this today if you want to. And
No, there's some very good points, we
Yeah.
definitely have to go back and.
Yeah.
Get some stuff out.
I mean, if you do this one page as homework to say what you need, and then all can come to a consensus and say, this year we're gonna stick to the one contingency plan. It's gonna be, let's talk about our shelter and figure out a good contingency plan for that with triggers. Then I would recommend doing that. And stop there and take a break. And then next year do an evacuation plan for a certain area, right? Or maybe it's only an evacuation of the community map to say, here's our highlighted transportation routes, and stop there. Don't overwork it, right? And then we'll exercise, do a little fun tabletop and make you lose some hair, and then you can go and rewrite a few pages here and there, right? I come as a paramedic, I stress my students out a lot, trying to make them really good, right?
Yeah. So when we were doing, getting ready for Hurricane Lee, I contacted Doug Johnson that owns the Radisson, and just said, you know, if something happens and we have to evacuate anybody, like, is there any way that you have availability at the hotel that I might be able to put people up there? I wanted to know before we actually got into the situation. Because I know that the road crews actually stay there. Like anybody from MB Power and the linesmen or whatever, they always stay there. So I wanted to know, one, if they had a generator, which they don't. But having the linesmen and NB Power, they usually have their power on pretty quick.
Yeah.
But he said that they actually had a large wedding. They actually had 2 or 3 weddings that weekend, so they were completely booked. But I wanted to know if we did have that availability or whatever. Anyway, so he just said, you know, if there's anything in the future that we kind of can see coming forth, just to contact them or whatever. So then we were talking about meals, and he said that the restaurant, as long as they had power, they would be able to supply.
At Johnny's Gas Bar?
Ivy's?
Ivy's,
Yeah, I didn't check there, but I actually contacted Paul Porter at
Oh,
Porter's
yes,
or
okay.
whatever. So him and I this week are setting up an agreement. So
He was ready to go back and make meals like that minute.
he actually
He was so nice.
Remind Paul when you're talking to him, there is a generator sitting out front of his building that Norm's has for the backup for their freezers.
I think he went and bought a generator thinking that we might need him to cook meals. He left and was going to Costco
More
that
than
day.
likely, but remind him, because Paul bought that building, so that big generator is sitting out front in front of the annual which should power that whole building. You probably forgot it was sitting there.
Go back to your sheltering for a minute. Yeah. Social Development has a contract with the Canadian Red Cross. So if there is anyone that needs, that's displaced in the community that needs housing, I would have your Canadian Red Cross person manage that for you. That's not, you don't take that expense on.
Yeah, I was thinking
Okay.
food for us.
Okay, food for you, but I thought you
no,
were talking
the
about
hotels, though.
sheltering about the
Hotels,
hotels.
that's what
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unless it's for one of you folk that need it, but if a resident is displaced, that usually goes to Canadian Red
Yeah.
Cross. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
what would be good is to have, she's back now, it's Elizabeth Hendricks. I'm not sure if do you know Elizabeth?
I know her well,
Yeah.
and actually, we've been, the
Good.
last week,
Good.
it was
Wayne?
No, Jamie
William,
Young?
Yeah, William, Jamie Young.
Young
yeah.
or whatever, so we've been
Yeah,
doing
good.
the
Okay,
MOU. I had it in place,
okay.
and then he wasn't aware of it, and I said I didn't get the copy back, so they sent that, and
Good,
I
okay.
sent them the pictures and stuff
Actually,
of everything the other
Terry,
day.
the one that we went to down on Deerwood, where the elderly lady, her
Yep.
basement was flooding.
Yes.
When I was there, I was actually talking to Murray about getting a hold of you to contact the Red Cross if we couldn't get her water situation stopped, because she couldn't. It was gonna be an issue of her staying there alone,
Okay.
until I got a hold of it. I went over and talked to the neighbors.
Yeah, how old do you have to be an old lady that you get help with?
How old are you guys? And it's 1 year
I'm
older.
older
you.
than that.
Takes all kinds.
There's this number here, I'll leave that with you. You might not get a hold of Elizabeth in the evening, so if someone does reach out to you for Canadian Red Cross, it's a 1-800 number, and that's who, they do a lot of it over the phone right now. Everything's virtual cards and all of that, they give them a gift card, and so, because of COVID, that's sort of changed.
It was Elizabeth
We had
that,
a,
yeah,
Presentation.
yeah, and it
Yeah.
was Elizabeth that come,
Yeah.
or whatever, but she hasn't been there for,
She's been off on
Off for a
maternity
year.
leave, she just got back this month, so she's just getting her feet wet again, and Jamie's done the 28th, which is
Tomorrow.
tomorrow.
wasn't that who originally set up the original agreement?
with Elizabeth, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, so she came and did presentation and stuff with us.
Yeah, so don't take that on yourself. When the Stein Lake fire happened, Red Cross was heavily involved in their warming reception center. They did all the registration and all of that. So that helps you guys out a lot if you have that MOU. So.
Yeah, terrible. That fire.
Yeah.
So yeah, the planning guys do ask that you guys, that I share with you the urgency of evacuation planning because of that fire and because of the Halifax fires. They were a lot of politicians saw that and were curious on how municipalities were doing and if they had evacuation plans. So I know New Maryland is working on it a little bit. And I recommend that you guys just take a look at your map and see if there was anything similar to the Halifax area where they had to bulldoze their way out.
Very
cul-de-sac.
concerned with Yoho.
With Yoho's. There's a lot of
Yoho's got
residents.
one way
Yeah, it's a
in,
one
one
way
way
out.
out, and
Yeah.
I've talked to a few residents, and I know that they have great concerns.
I have too.
It's all
Actually, I spoke
trees,
with
too.
Jerry about a couple of phone calls that I had from
Yes.
from folks out there, and I met with a lady that's part of their committee.
Yep.
And I asked her that, to come talk to you folks and maybe even partake in your committee because of the intimate knowledge that they have and the concerns that they have, but I'm not sure if they ever did, no.
Well, and
They would keep it within their committee.
Yeah.
they
But
what?
I
They would sort of
encourage-
keep the planning in their committee, I would think, before they come.
Well, no, I think that, I don't even think it would fall in kind of on our committee, like For an area that's got one way in and one way out, would that not escalate up to you? I mean, I would have to think that
Again,
military
roads are
or somebody is
responsibility.
going to have to come
Oh,
in and
no.
cut down trees and get people out. I mean, wintertime, because I've talked to Walter Bill Blake and Sean Haley in great detail or whatever with the committee there, and they actually want me, once they get their plans and committee established, they want me to go talk to them and just kind of tell them like what we do and stuff. But to me, a fire to that extent, I mean, we can have a list of snowmobiles and all that if we need to get people across the lake in the wintertime, or boats for the
Alternate
summer.
route, yeah.
But I would have to think if there is a fire, we're gonna need a lot more than just our committee. Like, I would have to think that that's going to be escalated up to the
Yeah,
REOC
so
or.
DNR would be a part of that. But I guess my suggestion was not to sit idle and wait for that to happen. I ask that you work on that now and work on it with their committee if they're the knowledgeable ones, to say, okay, we identified the issue. What's the suggestions on fixing it and preventing it? So is it another road off the back end? If that's the case, I would put it to you to talk with DTI to say, and apply some pressure with DTI, because they are the roads people, to say, you know, this is a hazard, and what's the likelihood of getting a road put in,
Right.
an access road put in on the other side, wherever you determine is the best place between the committee members and stuff. But it's the pressure that the municipality puts on the department.
So, this.
Well, just a second, my turn. New Maryland went through this, the fire department and such, because charter settlement is a one way in, one way out. With the exception of, there was an Irving Road that goes between,
That's a
Two-third
Smith
way
Road.
Smith Road.
to Smith Road. And they had to negotiate with Irving and everybody. And I mean, it took months and months and months and months. But the province wouldn't look to keeping it open in the winter or anything, so.
So that is back on the radar
Oh,
again.
it is again, yeah.
Um,
And
because
that
that's
was
no
like 4
longer,
years ago,
that's under the new municipality of the Russian Gornish.
whatever, the big one in there.
Yeah, Sunbury South or whatever. So Marjorie Turner is the CAO there, so her and I, she has already met with Harry Farrell, the chief over in, and so then the four of us with myself and Chief Kraus, we're going to get together to see
Okay.
what is needed, because we do need to get that road. So that is on the books. We just started talking about it again here probably a month or so ago. Well, it was
Okay.
when I was off, so.
And I propose that if after all of it and it doesn't work out and DTI says no, then that's where you would send me that note with a letter that I send to the planning and preparedness folks that say, you wanted the municipalities to plan and prepare. This is what they've done. This is who they've spoken to. This was the answer. What more would you like them to do now? Right?
Yeah.
After you've made the attempt, of course, right? Like, I'm leading you to talk to the right people. MBMO has no more pull than,
No, but it gets
right
more
then.
eyes see it,
That's right, and then
more
from there
voices
it
add
goes,
to it.
to the director or the regional preparedness manager and the provincial preparedness manager to say, you've asked the REMC to tell municipalities to plan and prepare. You know, this is, especially for an evacuation plan, they've done that. They've identified it, they've done the work, the consultations. They've spoken to DTI, who manages that, and any other stakeholders
The
involved.
landowner.
Right, and this was the outcome. What would you like them to do now? And put it back, and maybe that's how we
With
can go
Yoho,
from there.
it might be traverse over water. It might be the only exit plan, to send in a float boat
Yeah.
to just gather all the people up
Yeah.
to take
You
them
never-
out.
you
I mean,
know-
if the road's closed.
You never know what an environmental impact
Yeah.
assessment is gonna say, like, the route that's accessible, they, you might not be able to build, or, I don't know, but.
It should at least be identified right away or something that, you know, so it keeps the conversation going.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have great concerns for that
Yeah.
area.
and so do they.
So
I've
we
had
need
a
to start
number-
planning for it
Yeah.
then.
Is
think
that
so.
committee out in Yoho, that comes under, because I don't know, does that
It
come
comes
under
under
animal?
Yes.
Yeah.
So why is there, like, that committee?
Well, it's not really, an emergency committee, they have established a committee that when I contact them and say I need that shelter open, then they've got workers. So, but this has been a concern for them, so they're just kind of making a list of what all of their concerns are to bring it back to me.
I didn't know what the committee was.
Yeah,
basically what
so
it
that's,
was.
it's more or less for the warming, shelter or whatever, but they just have concerns, so we just said that it's just as easy for them to kind of gather all their concerns, and Sean Haley is bringing it back.
And these
to
are
me.
all members of the Yoho Lake Association, is that?
No,
how
it's
it
just
started?
the members
They're
of,
just members, okay.
We really would like, I think we need to have somebody sit on our committee.
That's right.
well, and they probably will,
We need,
I
like-
think actually,
I forget, I'm so bad with names.
It would be
sorry.
helpful to have them there.
Susan Menzie.
Menzies, yeah.
Yes,
Yes,
thank you.
yep,
Yeah, she was
yep.
very open. I sat with her for over an hour, more educational based.
Yeah.
But it was, you know, the responsibility, as my director has said, falls on the municipality. And so I encouraged that she come and sit with you because they seem very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And I said, like, you would add value to their committee because you have some great ideas. And she seemed really receptive. But
We need
that was
them.
earlier this
Yeah,
summer.
Yeah, we need them
I
on a
think that they
committee.
wanted to get the committee established first before they put somebody
Okay.
on our committee.
Because ultimately, they could have the committee, and they can say anything that they want, but it's your, it
Yeah.
falls under your responsibility as
Yeah.
the municipality, on what happens there and how it
Yeah.
happens. And
They were just getting all their chairs and all that established or whatever, and then I was
So
gonna
it
go.
would be seen as a subcommittee of this committee?
Yeah, I just need, because
Community.
we're going,
Community
there's so few of us, right, that I figured we will be in here. So I really needed somebody, so, it's been a couple of years ago. Sean Haley said that
Yeah.
he would kind of start it and
Right.
he would get all the people and stuff, so.
They're familiar, and most of them have keys to the lodge anyway, and
Yeah,
they know who the neighbors are, we'd be
Yeah.
going in blind,
yeah,
kind of thing, so.
yeah.
you can expand that. You're just making me think now about like someone sitting in here from the Rotary Club or Lions Club or, you know, something like that too.
We've got that.
Oh, well, there you go, okay. I'll stop right there then. But yeah, it's because you add, you know, a lot of capacity that way from those organizations, so. Oh, good.
No, I think that was
Anything
very,
else that you guys
I
have
think
here
that was
about,
very beneficial
Yeah.
for us, like,
And
it
I mean,
certainly made us think of a lot more things
I can come back
to add.
sooner rather than later. I apologize for not coming last time, but things got crazy on the home front schedules and they threw last minute changes and my wife was coaching and you know, all of that stuff.
Stuff
And
happens.
we have a life too.
Well, we do.
I lost mine
But we can actually, like, if you wanted to do a working group on something, like,
Yeah.
and sit down and actually put pen to paper and little bits here and there, I can help you. I can be with you anyways to work through it, like the word,
Yeah.
certain things or whatever you may need, so.
Can you be during the day if there's retirees that are doing it?
Yeah,
Okay.
most definitely, yeah. Most of my meetings are during the day.
Well, it's easier for you too, you don't have to take your nighttime time.
doesn't work for the rest of us.
No, that's right. Yeah, but it doesn't have to be a full committee.
No,
Just
no,
one,
just
yeah.
the group that's working
Yeah.
on the document.
Yeah, so that's what I do
Yeah,
with,
so usually that would just be the
Ross and-
two of you,
yeah.
Yeah,
I
right,
do
that
it-
wouldn't
Chris.
be able to attend probably.
Yeah, I do it with Grand Lake, so Danny Hargrove is the EMO coordinator for Grand Lake, and he'll come to my office or I'll drive to him and we'll sit down for an hour and see the few pages that he's created and edit it and go from there, and then he'll work another couple of weeks on doing something else, and I'll come and scratch on some paper and clean it up, and he'll just keep plugging away at it. So I can do the same. It's
Has he got a copy of our plan? Surely.
Danny Hargrove?
Yeah,
No, I don't think so.
I just wondered if it'd be easier for him if he had, you know.
He's got an existing plan, just like you guys. He's just updating it because he has new boundaries as well.
Okay.
He's got an additional fire department, which comes with additional shelters in Minto and a few of those things. So he's just working on cleaning that up. And then, just like I did with you guys, I'm pushing really hard that the public understands your shelter plan, so that they know, like, if you guys can set triggers and then let people know. It's great that the municipalities have the plan, but if the public don't know the plan, then they bulldoze roads through forests to get out because they didn't know the plan, right?
Right.
So communicating the contingency plans, the evacuation plans, or a shelter plan, those kinds of things, the public needs to know them. So that's why I show that Fredericton preparedness website, because they've spent a lot of hard work and time to try to have a place to disseminate information.
Do you really think that even a minority amount of Frederictonians have looked at that website?
I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah,
Probably not.
So I wouldn't have
Yeah.
a lot of faith
No.
in putting plan just
But you're doing
online.
your due diligence.
No, not just online. You have to promote it. You have to promote it, but.
But I mean, I think a mail out or something that would go to each house.
No, they get
Yeah.
missed a lot,
Yeah.
sometimes mail outs, just a personal
Um,
Oh
experience.
yeah, they don't always work, but
I mean, you put it on your website, but then you share the link on social media
Yeah.
platforms, and you put it in the Herald, and
yeah.
right, showing where they can access it. No one can fault you for doing your due diligence.
That's right. We can't force people to look at it, but we
No.
can put the information out there so they can
Because
find it.
That's the thing, is something's gonna happen, and they're gonna be like, you're gonna be like, well, we had a plan for that, and they're gonna be like, I didn't know, where is it, right? And that's the question,
We've
where?
told you 100
yeah.
times where it is, you just didn't pay attention.
Right, if that's on the website, then that's perfect, right?
And I mean, now that we have the Voyant,
Yeah.
it can be for, like, it doesn't have to be just an emergency like Sentinel was, right? So it can be like just for general information
Well,
and
like
stuff like that,
2,
so.
3 days before leave, you put an alert out over it, say, go to Hanwell's website and review.
A 72-hour.
Yeah,
preparedness,
exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's out there, and then you'd probably, if you could track it, you would get an uptake
A little bit,
leading
yeah.
up to the event.
Can't remember the statistics, but you were in the same boat as Fredericton. They had just switched over to Voyant as well.
Yeah.
And during their meeting, they had said their numbers. I wasn't writing it down. It didn't mean much to me. But what they did is, just before Hurricane Lee came, they took their Voyant ad and they moved it to the top of their website for everyone to see, and they attached it to every link. So wherever someone went on their website, it was always at the top. So they took it from hiding and they really put it out. And they said just by doing that over the course of 3 days, they had gained quite a few subscribers. So there are people going to the website.
Oh, yeah.
So
Absolutely.
unfortunately for us, we don't have, our website's not done here. We don't have
Yeah,
somebody who works
that's
on the
right.
website, so it's like contacting the web developer. It's just,
Yeah,
it's,
there's more to it.
there's
for
more to
sure,
it than
yeah.
simply just
Um,
fixing the website. Like, we don't do that in-house, so.
No, that's right. I understand that. But I guess I was thinking where you were saying that people don't show up, but people do only at the last minute, right? Like, and they probably promoted it. It was on, Chief Kellenbeck was on CBC, and he mentioned it on CBC, which took a an extra couple of people on there. They saw that the registration. So by you promoting it on social media platforms, or maybe you even send it on your Voyant app saying, hey, talk to your neighbors about Voyant,
Yeah.
something like that to engage the conversation or something.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's just another hope that people listen.
And I mean,
Well,
we've
we
got, like Remembrance Day coming up. I mean, we shouldn't take away from Remembrance Day, but I mean, out in the lobby, we could have like our 72 hours and our Sentinel or Voyant
Yeah.
and all that. So if people, there might be some people that would pick them up on their way
Yeah.
out, kind of thing. So any event that we have here, because when I printed those off when we had the public safety meeting with the RCMP, a lot of them, just about everybody picked them up and took them or whatever. So I think as many times as we have something and we have that stuff available, then
It would be good to put along, so honestly, I don't know what the fire department is doing, but alongside the fire department, Fire Prevention Week.
Oh, yes.
Yes, for sure. So that's when the second week of October.
Yeah.
The 8th, starts the 8th.
So print a bunch off and give them to the fire departments. Yeah, good idea.
Yeah. That's also in the Herald too.
Just while we were talking about Voyant, I signed in, and interestingly, under the notifications, we have 7 active and none ended.
Yes.
So there is a way that you can go in
And close.
and finish it
Yes.
off.
Yeah, I can close. Yeah, I have to go and close them. But I'm not gonna. I will. It will not set an alert out. It will
No.
just. They'll just disappear.
No, but I mean, once you're signed in and you're set up, you, again, a personal responsibility to, if you want information, to go back to it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's an area where if they were ended, then we would all know.
Or ended on a certain date.
Yeah.
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 That's, we don't need details, just ended on a date.
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
you know.
Well,
I mean, when
especially
you
if it's
go
something
on-
that you guys are running,
Yeah.
right? That you can start and stop that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Because
it
I thought
actually
they,
gives you math and everything on everything. So, I mean,
Right.
it's really good.
Yeah, it was a learning curve.
So
It will, and will continue to be a learning curve.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll end with this. New Brunswick EMO is one of 3 organizations that do the national alerting system, the intrusive alerting system where your phones
Yes.
beep and your radios go off. So that's called Alert Ready Emergency Alerting System. MBEMO, Environment Canada, and the RCMP have access to the program. We're the only 3 in the province. I bring this up because there may be a time where you feel that like the AIM fire, where they did a shelter in place order for that fire, but it could be for an evacuation, it could be for something where you know that you're not hitting every resident in Hanwell, and you want to hit every resident in Hanwell for some reason, like a shelter in place because of an incident. That's where I would come in, and you can contact me. And we have the ability under a number of things to do an intrusive broadcast. So it would be for a fire, like an urban fire, or industrial fire, wildfire, or forest fire. Maybe you had to do an evacuation of a certain area. We can geolocate. So if you just want a certain area to evacuate, we can buzz everyone in that little area. Biological, chemical reasons, radiological or drinking water contamination reasons, we can send out an alert for that. Hazards like explosives, and environment like air quality, like down in the AIM, St. John area, or falling objects, natural or human-made materials at risk of falling, which may threaten the public or
Planes go right
property.
over top of it.
Maybe so, right? Yeah, maybe so. So just to remember that would be it. So it would be a contact, the municipality would contact the REMC for one of those things, and we would discuss it. If it met the criteria, we would send out. It has to be bilingual, so the message would have to be bilingual, and the message length, just like Sentinel, only has 597 characters total, right?
So to sweeten to the point, pretty much.
Sweet, yeah, you're talking, like, these are only emergency alerts,
Right.
intrusive, right?
Yeah.
You need to get out of your house, or you need to shelter in place, turn off your air exchangers and all that stuff. So, just remember that, if you're ever looking for something like that, we can work on that. So you're never alone thinking that you're not hitting every resident. For a
Major, yeah.
major, you need to get a hold of everybody, so.
Oh, we'll have you on speed dial if we have an emergency, for sure.
Imagine.
Just to ask
My point,
questions.
my point.
It's nice to know.
Yeah. No, that's wonderful. Does anybody else have any questions? Good, so, thank you, Dan, I think that was great.
I have a presentation on what MEMO looks like. We can always do that some other day, and talk a little bit about the Emergency Measures Act if you want. That's strictly just as information for you folks to understand a bit of emergency management at the provincial level. But,
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe for our next meeting that we work on that shelter one, because with winter coming up, it's a great one to have, and actually it's probably not gonna take a lot of work because I've already got all of those things done, so.
Now, I said earlier about the triggers and how you how the Acadian Peninsula posts that. I'm not saying that you have to do that. I'm just giving an example of what they do. But it is definitely a good idea to publicize that the municipality has a set location and where it is so that people know.
Right.
And if you were really interested in going, they lose power a lot. And so they've set it up with triggers so that the public knows that after 36 hours they can go somewhere, right? But until then, they're like, because what happens is the power goes out and people start asking right away, are shelters open?
Right.
So I got 3 emails before I even woke up on Saturday morning from people on PEI asking for family in Fredericton where the shelters were. And the storm had just started to come up, right? And they were already asking for shelters.
72
And
hours.
there are no shelters. Yeah, a sign, right? Yeah,
72 hours, yeah.
preparedness, right? So
Unless it's cold.
Yeah, yeah, and if it's cold, then you have to really contemplate that, right? And so, and that's where your plan will come in to say, do we want to automatically open something up for the daytime hours till 10 o'clock or 10 p.m. or something during anything where an ETA, if you see an ETA over 18 hours or something, I don't know, whatever you guys feel is a good
Right.
trigger, which would make your residents happy.
Cause when, remember when that little semi-tornado or whatever went through the mini home
Yes,
park
yes,
or
yeah.
whatever, Susan and I opened this place up, cause remember we just come and let people, we only had I think two people or whatever, but we kind of got a lot of people were very disappointed that we didn't take flyers door to door
Oh.
to tell people in the mini home park that we were open.
That's never gonna happen.
No,
it was
that's,
just like-
no,
No, that's,
That's just not realistic.
Yeah.
no, it's not.
I took flyers through the mini home park for election of unnamed people. And I got the worst reception from almost every door.
You went to the liberal doors.
I went to all the doors and it was a scary place to leave flyers.
I just
And
don't think
I'm
it's,
pretty
yeah.
brave at talking to anybody and you know.
and if I remember correct, what was it, over Christmas this year, January or something, we had a number of shelters or warming centers open.
I opened
Power
up the
outage,
Upper Kings Clear.
and we didn't see
and-
that.
February,
Yeah.
1st of February, wasn't it?
We saw only 2 or 3 people, I
Yeah.
think, or
Yeah, we
maybe
didn't have anybody.
0,
I
yeah.
think most people in Kings would have generators.
Well,
For the most part,
and
it's all you hear. Yeah.
Yeah, and
A lot of
that's-
us don't though, like, I mean, I don't have a generator because I live in an apartment building, so
Right.
they don't have generators,
Yeah.
so.
I bought $200 worth of sweets and nobody.
But we
come.
opened it up and 2 people showed up, so that's kind of the point, right? So
Yeah.
people are doing something.
But we
Yeah.
didn't
They're
use
doing
power
something.
to
Yeah.
So it's one of those things, if if you do and you're damned if you don't.
It's just like insurance, you
Yeah.
just do
If
it.
you didn't open, people would want it, you
Why
opened it,
didn't you?
nobody.
But I don't
had
think
it,
going door to door is an
Yeah,
option.
But I would rather open it
Well, no,
and
that's
give
a waste
people
of
the
Definitely
resources
No.
right there.
door to door.
No.
yeah,
But that's a great opportunity to say, but we have a voyant alert, and you would have gotten
That's
an
right.
alert if you
Yeah.
had, or
Yeah.
you would have known if we opened it, because it would have gone to.
Well, I don't have a computer.
Cell phone,
Most
cell
cell
phone,
phone.
telephone, it'll go
It
through
goes right to your
landline.
landline. Yeah,
Email,
it'll do on your
I know,
landline.
Get it on all one.
But it kind of bugs me that everything we talk about is internet dependent.
Yes.
And as soon as the power goes off,
The alert goes off.
yeah.
you know, there needs to be cell phone process backup. or
Well,
something.
within the plan, at some point in time, there'll need to be a communications down.
Yeah,
plan.
Yes. And I think that's kind of where this was coming from, was people were saying, like, we really should have gone door to door with something, because not everybody, when power is out, you don't have
Internet.
right.
that service, so, you
No,
know,
but
like that's.
but Sentinel did work, and Sentinel went to your landline.
Yeah,
So,
but a lot of people don't have landlines.
But many people don't have
Oh.
landlines.
But the nice thing too with fiber optic, as long as the substation has power, there's still internet going through the lines, whether you have power at your house or not. But if you run your house on a generator, you still have access to internet through fiber optic, as long as the substation's power.
Well, so long as the line from the substation to your home isn't down.
True.
I mean, that's,
Right.
But you have a
And if
generator.
a power line's down, there's a good chance that your internet line.
But there's still that option that there could possibly, without power, you could still possibly have it.
But
I
we
think-
really,
Door-to-door
we need to
thing is
think
not
about
feasible.
the people that don't have this, because we have many seniors.
That's where the handle herald that goes to every mailbox.
And that's where, remember the old crank radios, you should always have a crank
Yep.
radio, battery
Yeah.
radio. Still promoting that, because really, actually, on this list might be a good place to put the radio station phone number, so that you can say, call the radio stations to say, please post that we're opening up a
Right.
shelter, and communicate that so people
Yeah.
know, so.
And even though
That's
the radio
the-
stations in here go like remote after a certain hour, they still had local DJs on there with Hurricane Lee giving updates on normally not in-person broadcasting, so.
But that would be your other option, is
Yeah.
get back to the old time radio.
Transistor radio.
Public notice.
Yeah, I actually just bought on Amazon, I think they were like $34, and it's got like your crank,
Yeah.
for your radio.
And then
It has
charger.
the solar, it has the place to charge, it can, put the batteries in it, it's got the flashlight, it's got the SOS, alert thing, the siren thing on it. It was, I think everybody is going to have one of those for Christmas. I hope none of my family is listening, but they were wonderful. And I also thought that maybe, we can do a draw or something sometime, and that's what our prize could be. But
Right on.
it did have like the crank radio. I'll bring it for the next meeting so you guys can see it. But it was.
That could be a good promotion to do within the community.
Mm-hmm.
Have some, raise money for something, but give exposure, and and that would be a prize. That way you're getting two messages out there. You're
Yeah,
supporting something in the community, plus this is a piece of equipment that could be used in an emergency.
Yeah. Yeah, like maybe for the first place or whatever for the
Christmas lights.
Christmas
contest.
lights contest or something like that. Like you could,
Or emergency preparedness week, or storm preparedness week.
Yeah.
yeah, or the
Yeah,
the fire prevention, like
that's a good one.
or whatever. So no, I think it was a great meeting.
Yeah.
Very informative.
First pitch was at 8:05, so.
Okay. So I guess it's 8:05. So
First what?
First
The
pitch
pitch.
was from the ball.
Oh, really?
all right. So if there's no other questions, I will adjourn the meeting at 8:05.